Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into something that has the power to transform the way you approach challenges, goals, and everyday life. 12 Stoic principles for achieving your best. If you've ever felt overwhelmed, frustrated by setbacks, or stuck in a cycle of stress, then trust me, this is the guide you need. These timeless lessons, drawn from the wisdom of great Stoic thinkers like Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca, will help you develop a mindset of resilience, clarity, and inner peace. Life can feel chaotic at times. There are pressures from work, relationships, and personal ambitions that seem to pull us in 100 different directions. And let's be honest, sometimes it feels like we're fighting battles we have no control over. That's exactly where Stoicism steps in. This ancient philosophy is not about suppressing emotions or becoming indifferent to the world. It's about learning to master your responses, focus on what you can influence, and let go of everything else. The result? More control over your thoughts, less stress over things beyond your reach, and a clearer path to living a fulfilling life. In today's episode, we're going beyond theory. We're getting practical. We're going to break down how Stoic principles can be applied in your daily grind, whether it's handling pressure at work, overcoming failure, or simply finding peace in an unpredictable world. You'll discover how to shift your perspective so that obstacles no longer feel like barriers, but rather stepping stones toward growth. From staying calm in difficult situations to embracing change with confidence, these lessons are designed to be implemented immediately. And the best part? You don't need to be a philosopher or spend years studying Stoicism to benefit from these insights. You just need an open mind and the willingness to apply what works. Whether you're new to Stoicism or have been exploring this mindset for a while, this episode will help reinforce the core principles that can elevate your mental and emotional resilience. If you're ready to take your personal growth to the next level, hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Because the more we share this knowledge, the more we can all grow together. Now, let's dive in and explore 12 powerful Stoic lessons that will help you become the best version of yourself. 1. Do your best in everything, but let go of the outcome. One of the greatest paradoxes of success, and one of the most liberating Stoic principles, is learning to give your absolute best in everything you do, while simultaneously letting go of the outcome. At first, this may seem counterintuitive. After all, isn't the whole point of working hard to achieve a specific result? Isn't effort supposed to lead to success? While it's true that effort increases the likelihood of success, the Stoics recognized a fundamental truth that many people fail to grasp. No matter how much effort you put in, the final outcome is never entirely within your control. External factors, timing, circumstances, the decisions of others, always play a role. And if your happiness, confidence, or sense of self-worth is tied to an outcome that is ultimately beyond your control, you are setting yourself up for unnecessary stress and disappointment. Think about how often we attach our emotions to results. You work tirelessly on a project, but your boss doesn't approve. You put everything into a relationship, but the other person doesn't feel the same way. You spend months preparing for an exam, but the test is unexpectedly difficult, and you don't get the grade you were hoping for. When this happens, most people fall into frustration, self-doubt, or even despair. But the Stoic perspective offers a different approach. Focus entirely on your effort, your preparation, your dedication. But once the moment of action has passed, release all attachment to the result. The only thing that ever truly belongs to you is your input. The outcome is dictated by forces beyond you. This mindset shift is profound because it removes the unnecessary suffering that comes from obsessing over things that aren't in your hands. The Stoics understood that, while we should strive for excellence in all we do, the true measure of success is not whether we achieve a particular outcome, but whether we acted with integrity, discipline, and commitment. Marcus Aurelius captured this perfectly when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. In other words, true power lies in mastering yourself, not in trying to control what happens next. Imagine an athlete training for the Olympics. They dedicate years of their life to perfecting their craft, pushing their body and mind to the limits. They prepare meticulously, refining every movement, every technique. But when competition day arrives, there are factors beyond their control. The condition of the track, the performance of their competitors, even the weather. If they measure their success solely by whether they win, they risk falling into despair if things don't go their way. But if they instead focus on whether they performed to the best of their ability, whether they showed up fully prepared, gave it everything they had, and stayed true to their training, then they can walk away with peace, regardless of the medal count. This principle applies in every area of life. Let's say you're applying for your dream job. You put together an incredible resume, you prepare rigorously for the interview, and you walk in with confidence. You do your absolute best, but despite your efforts, the company chooses someone else. Now, you have two choices. You can let the rejection make you feel like a failure, questioning whether you were ever good enough, or you can recognize that the final decision was never in your control. Maybe the company already had an internal candidate in mind. Maybe they were looking for a different skill set. None of that changes the fact that you showed up fully and gave it your all. The Stoic mindset tells you to focus only on what you can control, your preparation, your effort, your attitude, and accept that everything else is beyond your influence. Letting go of the outcome doesn't mean that you stop caring. It doesn't mean that you don't set goals or strive for achievement. It simply means that you shift your attention from external validation to internal mastery. The only true failure, in the Stoic sense, is failing to act according to your highest potential. Whether or not the world recognizes your effort is irrelevant. What matters is whether you honor your own standards. One of the best ways to implement this mindset is by shifting from result-based goals to process-based goals. Most people set goals that are entirely dependent on external factors. I want to get a promotion. I want to have 1 million followers. I want to win first place. But all of these goals rely on circumstances that are not fully within your control. A process-based goal, on the other hand, shifts the focus to what you can influence. I will improve my skills. I will post consistently. I will train with discipline every day. This way, success is not defined by whether you reach a specific milestone, but by whether you remain committed to your efforts. When you focus on the process rather than the result, you free yourself from the anxiety of uncertainty and instead immerse yourself fully in the present moment. Another way to embody this principle is by learning to celebrate effort, not just outcomes. In a world obsessed with results, we often fail to appreciate the dedication and persistence that go into the journey. But when you begin to recognize your own effort as the real victory, you build a sense of confidence that is unshakable. If you write a book and it doesn't become a bestseller, does that mean the book wasn't valuable? Of course not. If you dedicate yourself to a craft and it doesn't lead to fame, does that mean your work was meaningless? Not at all. The Stoic view is that every moment of effort, every disciplined action, every instance of giving your best, that is the true reward. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with this principle is the fear of failure. We are conditioned to believe that failure is something to be avoided at all costs, that if we don't achieve the desired outcome, we have somehow fallen short. But the Stoics saw failure differently. They understood that failure is simply feedback. It tells you what didn't work, but it doesn't define your worth or effort. If you launch a business and it doesn't succeed, you have gained experience that will make your next endeavor stronger. If you take a risk and it doesn't go as planned, you have built resilience that will serve you in the future. Letting go of attachment to the outcome removes the fear of failure because it shifts the focus from "did I succeed" to "did I show up fully and do my best?" And that is always within your control. Ultimately, this mindset will lead to less stress, more confidence, and greater fulfillment. You stop wasting energy worrying about things you can't change. You become more resilient because setbacks no longer shake your sense of self-worth. You start to actually enjoy the process of working hard because you're no longer fixated on whether or not it leads to external success. Ironically, by letting go of the result, you may even find that success comes more naturally, because without the burden of pressure, you perform at your highest level. So the next time you pour your heart into something, a project, a performance, a relationship, remind yourself, your job is to give your absolute best. The rest is not up to you. Let go of the need to control the outcome and instead find joy in the process. With this mindset, you'll experience a newfound sense of peace, a deeper level of confidence, and the freedom to pursue your goals with unshakable clarity. 2. Focus only on what you can control. One of the most transformative lessons in Stoicism, and one that can instantly change the way you experience life, is the principle of focusing only on what you can control. At first, this may sound obvious, even simplistic, but when you take a closer look at your own daily frustrations, anxieties, and struggles, you'll realize just how often you waste energy on things entirely beyond your influence. How many times have you found yourself stressed over someone else's opinion of you, worried about whether an opportunity will pan out, or frustrated by unexpected obstacles? The truth is, most of the suffering we experience is not caused by the events themselves, but by our desperate attempts to control the uncontrollable. The Stoics understood this well and made it the foundation of their philosophy. Your power lies in your thoughts, actions, and attitudes. Everything else is external, unpredictable, and ultimately not your concern. Imagine for a moment that you're working on an important project at your job. You've put in countless hours, refining every detail, making sure every aspect is perfect. But when the final presentation arrives, your boss isn't impressed, external circumstances derail the project, or someone else takes the credit. The immediate reaction is frustration, disappointment, or even anger, because after all, you gave it your best. But here's the Stoic truth. The outcome was never within your control to begin with. What was within your control? Your effort, your preparation, your attitude. The moment you accept this, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and regain clarity. You did your part, and that is all that ever truly matters. When you focus on what you can influence, rather than worrying about results that are determined by external forces, you gain peace of mind, resilience, and an unshakable sense of confidence. The Stoics divided life into two categories, internal and external. Internal matters, your thoughts, decisions, and responses, are completely within your power. External matters, other people's actions, the economy, politics, the weather, or whether someone likes you, are beyond your grasp. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic thinkers, put it bluntly: some things are in our control, and others are not. The more you focus on external matters, the more you set yourself up for stress, frustration, and disappointment. But if you invest your energy solely in what you can control, life becomes far more manageable. The key is to stop fixating on everything that happens outside of you and instead direct your full attention toward your own actions, mindset, and decisions. Think about a situation where you receive harsh criticism. Your first instinct might be to feel hurt, to get defensive, or to let it ruin your mood. But what if you paused and examined the situation through a Stoic lens? Can you control the words that came out of the other person's mouth? No. Can you control how they feel about you? No. But you can control how you react. You can choose to see criticism as a personal attack, or you can take a step back and determine whether there's anything useful in the feedback. You can let it ruin your day, or you can absorb it calmly, adjust if needed, and move forward. The difference between a person who is consumed by frustration and a person who remains composed is not the situation itself, but how they choose to handle it. To cultivate this mindset, one of the best practices is making a simple shift in awareness. The next time you feel overwhelmed, take a moment to make a mental or written list. On one side, list what is within your control. On the other, write down what isn't. Once you see it clearly, commit to releasing anything that falls into the second column. There is no benefit in clinging to things you cannot change, only wasted energy. Instead, channel your focus toward your own efforts and decisions. Another practical way to embody this principle is through the practice of acceptance. When something happens that is out of your control, a flight delay, an unexpected turn of events, a negative comment from someone, remind yourself that resisting reality only creates suffering. Acceptance is not passivity. It is the recognition that peace comes from aligning your mind with what is, rather than wishing things were different. One of the greatest barriers to mastering this principle is perfectionism. Many of us operate under the illusion that if we just try hard enough, we can control every variable, every detail, and every outcome. But perfectionism is exhausting because it keeps us fixated on the wrong things: how others perceive us, how flawlessly things turn out, and whether our efforts are recognized. The Stoics would tell you that instead of chasing perfection, strive for progress. Focus on doing your best and let go of the need to control the final result. If you're preparing for a big presentation, focus on your preparation, your delivery, and your confidence. Once you've done that, release any worry about how others will react. Their opinions, not in your control. Your effort, entirely within it. The beauty of this mindset is that it extends to every area of life. If you've ever gone through a period of uncertainty, losing a job, dealing with a health crisis, or navigating an unpredictable situation, you know how easy it is to spiral into anxiety. But here's where Stoicism offers a radical shift. You can't control the circumstances, but you can control how you respond to them. You can't dictate the economy, but you can adapt. You can't control external challenges, but you can take steps to strengthen yourself mentally, emotionally, and physically. Those who thrive in difficult situations are not the ones who wish for a different reality, but those who focus entirely on what they can influence. When you apply this principle consistently, you'll notice profound changes in your life. You'll feel less stressed because you're no longer fixating on things beyond your control. You'll be more productive because you're directing your energy toward meaningful action. You'll build greater resilience because setbacks will no longer feel like personal failures, but rather natural parts of the process. And most importantly, you'll experience a deep sense of freedom, the kind that comes when you stop trying to control the uncontrollable and instead take full ownership of your thoughts, choices, and mindset. At the end of the day, the Stoics remind us that true power doesn't come from controlling the world, it comes from controlling ourselves. Your thoughts, your actions, and your attitude are yours to shape. Everything else, let it go. So the next time you feel yourself getting caught up in worry or frustration, ask yourself one simple question: is this something I can control? If the answer is yes, take action. If the answer is no, release it and move forward. The moment you embrace this truth, life becomes lighter, calmer, and far more manageable, not because the world has changed, but because you have. 3. Accept and learn from failure. Failure. It's a word that makes most people uncomfortable. We're taught from a young age to avoid failure at all costs, to see it as a reflection of our inadequacy, a sign that we weren't good enough, prepared enough, or talented enough. Society glorifies success, but often ignores the countless failures that precede it. But here's the truth: failure is not the enemy. It is one of life's greatest teachers. The Stoics understood that failure is not something to be feared or avoided, but rather an essential part of growth and self-improvement. If you want to achieve your best, you must learn to embrace failure, extract its lessons, and use it as fuel to become stronger. Most people see failure as a dead end, but the Stoics saw it as a stepping stone. When something doesn't go as planned, whether it's a business venture that doesn't take off, a relationship that falls apart, or a goal that remains out of reach, you have two choices. Let it define you, or let it refine you. Marcus Aurelius famously said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, obstacles don't block the path, they are the path. Every failure is an opportunity to improve, to recalibrate, and to come back stronger. The only real failure is refusing to learn from the experience and giving up. Think about the times in your life when you've grown the most. Chances are, those moments weren't when everything was going smoothly, but rather when you were faced with a challenge, a setback, or an unexpected hardship. Growth happens when you are tested, when things don't go your way, and when you are forced to adapt. The Stoics believed that adversity reveals your true character. Anyone can be confident when things are going well, but when life knocks you down, that's when you discover who you really are. Let's take an example. Imagine you've been working toward a big promotion at work. You've put in the hours, delivered exceptional results, and feel like you're the perfect candidate. But when the decision comes down, someone else gets the job. Your first instinct might be frustration, disappointment, or even anger. You might start questioning your worth, wondering if all your effort was for nothing. But a Stoic would approach this differently. Instead of dwelling on the uncontrollable outcome, they would ask, "What can I learn from this? Maybe this experience highlights areas for improvement. Maybe it pushes you to explore other opportunities you wouldn't have considered. Or maybe this rejection is simply redirecting you towards something better." The Stoics would remind you that you don't control the results. You only control your effort, your response, and your mindset. Failure is never personal. It is not a verdict on your worth, but simply feedback. If you launch a business and it fails, that doesn't mean you're a failure. It means you've gained invaluable knowledge about what doesn't work, which puts you one step closer to what does. If you attempt something and it doesn't succeed, that doesn't mean you lack ability. It means you're in the process of refining your approach. Thomas Edison famously said, after thousands of failed attempts to invent the light bulb, "I have not failed, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work." That is the Stoic mindset. Every failure brings you closer to success, as long as you keep going. One of the greatest obstacles to learning from failure is the fear of judgment. We worry about what others will think if we don't succeed, if we make mistakes, or if we don't live up to expectations. But here's a Stoic truth. Other people's opinions are not within your control, and therefore they are irrelevant. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, we all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. Why waste energy worrying about the judgments of others when their thoughts have no real impact on your journey? The Stoics would tell you to focus on your own progress, your own lessons, and your own path. One of the best ways to apply Stoic wisdom to failure is through reframing. Instead of asking, "Why did this happen to me?" ask, "What can I learn from this?" Instead of seeing failure as a setback, see it as a lesson. If something didn't go as planned, ask yourself, "What did I do well? What could I have done differently? How will this experience make me better in the future?" By shifting your perspective, failure no longer feels like a punishment, it becomes an opportunity. Another powerful strategy is to detach your identity from the outcome. You are not your failures, just as you are not your successes. You are your actions, your character, and your persistence. Whether something succeeds or fails, it does not change your ability to try again, to improve, and to grow. Now, let's look at another real-life example, starting a business. Many entrepreneurs go into their first venture with high hopes, expecting everything to go smoothly, but reality often delivers a different story. Perhaps the business struggles, customers don't respond as expected, or unforeseen challenges arise. A person without a Stoic mindset might see this as a sign to quit, to never take risks again. But a Stoic entrepreneur would take a different approach. They would analyze what went wrong, refine their strategy, and use the experience to launch something even better. Some of the most successful people in history failed multiple times before achieving success, not because they were lucky, but because they kept learning and adjusting. Failure also teaches resilience. When you experience failure and get back up, you prove to yourself that setbacks are temporary and that you are capable of handling challenges. Over time, this builds mental toughness, an unshakable belief that no failure is permanent and that every challenge can be overcome. Epictetus said, "Difficulties are things that show a person what they are. Every failure is an opportunity to build strength, and the more you face, the stronger you become." At the core of Stoicism is the understanding that failure is inevitable, but suffering because of failure is optional. You cannot always control whether you succeed or fail, but you can always control how you respond to it. If you allow failure to make you bitter, to stop you from trying, or to define your self-worth, then you have let it defeat you. But if you use failure as a tool for growth, as a necessary step toward mastery, then you are on the path to greatness. So how do you start applying this mindset today? First, expect failure as part of the process. Instead of fearing it, accept that setbacks will happen and that they are simply checkpoints on the journey to success. Second, analyze every failure for lessons. Never walk away from a failed attempt without extracting value from it. Third, detach from external validation. Stop worrying about what others think and focus on your own progress. And finally, keep moving forward. The only people who truly fail are the ones who give up. As long as you are learning and improving, you are never failing, you are evolving. At the end of the day, failure is not a reflection of weakness, but a sign that you are pushing your limits, taking risks, and striving for growth. The Stoics remind us that life is not about avoiding failure, but about mastering the art of rising after every fall. So the next time you face a setback, remember this: it is not the end, it is the beginning of something greater. 4. Practice self-discipline every day. One of the most fundamental qualities that separates those who achieve their best from those who struggle to make progress is self-discipline. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather. Some days you wake up feeling energized and ready to take on the world. Other days you feel sluggish, uninspired, and tempted to put things off until tomorrow. This is why discipline is far more reliable than motivation. Discipline is the internal force that keeps you moving forward, even when you don't feel like it. It is what allows you to show up, stay committed, and do the work, regardless of how you feel in the moment. The Stoics understood that true mastery of life comes not from indulging in fleeting pleasures or chasing temporary highs, but from mastering one's self, and that begins with the ability to control one's actions, emotions, and habits. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." What he meant was that real freedom is not the ability to do whatever you want in the moment. It is the ability to act according to your highest values, even when it's difficult. Many people think of discipline as something restrictive, as if it takes away enjoyment from life. But in reality, discipline is what creates freedom. When you are disciplined with your time, you have more control over your schedule and can accomplish what truly matters to you. When you are disciplined with your habits, you build the foundation for long-term success. When you are disciplined in your emotions, you are not easily thrown off course by setbacks or distractions. In short, discipline is what allows you to become the person you aspire to be. Imagine you've set a goal to get in shape. In the beginning, you feel excited and committed. You buy new workout gear, create a fitness plan, and maybe even tell your friends about your goal. The first few days or weeks, it's easy to stay motivated. But then, life happens. You have a long day at work and suddenly skipping the gym sounds appealing. You're tired and ordering fast food seems easier than preparing a healthy meal. If you rely only on motivation, you will give in to these temptations every time. But if you have self-discipline, you push through. You recognize that the goal is more important than the temporary comfort of skipping a workout. You remind yourself that every action compounds over time, and that small moments of discipline lead to big results in the long run. The Stoics were strong believers in training the mind and body through daily discipline. They saw self-discipline not as a burden, but as a tool for achieving clarity, inner peace, and strength. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history as the Emperor of Rome, constantly reminded himself in his personal journal to stay disciplined and avoid the temptations of laziness and indulgence. If even an emperor with unlimited access to comfort and pleasure understood the importance of discipline, what excuse do the rest of us have? The best way to build self-discipline is through consistency and structure. If you want to develop a skill, improve your health, or achieve any meaningful goal, you must commit to a system that keeps you accountable. One of the simplest ways to do this is to create a daily routine. Routines take the guesswork out of decision-making. When you have a structured plan for your day, you don't waste time debating whether or not to do something. You simply follow the system you've put in place. If you decide in advance that every morning you will wake up at 6 a.m. and spend 30 minutes reading or exercising, that decision has already been made. There's no room for excuses. The more you stick to your routine, the easier discipline becomes, because over time it turns into habit. Another crucial aspect of discipline is removing temptations. Willpower is not infinite. If you constantly expose yourself to distractions and temptations, it will be much harder to stay on track. If you're trying to be more productive, turn off notifications on your phone, set up a workspace that minimizes distractions, and schedule focused work sessions. If you're trying to eat healthier, don't keep junk food in the house. Discipline is not about forcing yourself to resist temptation. It's about making the right choices easier by controlling your environment. Of course, even the most disciplined people will have moments of weakness. The key is not to aim for perfection, but for consistency. Missing one workout doesn't mean you've failed your fitness journey. Breaking your diet for one meal doesn't mean you should give up completely. The real danger is letting one slip turn into an ongoing pattern. The Stoics would remind you that every moment is a new opportunity to get back on track. If you falter, acknowledge it, but don't dwell on it. Simply reset your focus and keep moving forward. Let's take another real-life example: procrastination. Procrastination is the enemy of discipline. We all know the feeling. You have an important task to complete, but instead of starting, you scroll through social media, watch random videos, or find other ways to delay. The longer you put it off, the harder it becomes to start. The Stoic way to overcome procrastination is to take immediate action, no matter how small. A great trick is the 5-minute rule. Tell yourself you only need to work on the task for 5 minutes. Often, the hardest part is just getting started, and once you begin, momentum carries you forward. The Stoics believed that the mind should not be a slave to fleeting impulses. If something needs to be done, do it now. Do not wait for the perfect moment, because the perfect moment does not exist. Discipline also strengthens your confidence and self-respect. Every time you follow through on a commitment to yourself, you prove that you can be trusted. On the other hand, every time you break a promise to yourself, you weaken your own belief in your ability to stay consistent. This is why discipline is directly linked to self-esteem. When you live with discipline, you walk through life with a quiet sense of confidence, because you know that no matter what happens, you have the inner strength to stay on course. Ultimately, discipline is what creates long-term success in any area, whether in your career, your health, your relationships, or your personal growth. The people who succeed are not the ones who wait for motivation to strike. They are the ones who show up day after day, no matter how they feel, and put in the work. They are the ones who understand that progress is built not in grand dramatic moments, but in small daily actions repeated over time. So how do you start building discipline today? Begin with small, manageable commitments. Choose one habit you want to develop and focus on sticking to it consistently. Create a routine that eliminates decision fatigue. Remove temptations that make it harder to stay on track. And when you slip, don't waste time feeling guilty. Just get back on course. The Stoics remind us that discipline is not just about achieving goals. It is about becoming the kind of person who follows through, who does what is necessary, and who takes control of their own life. If you master discipline, you master yourself. And once you master yourself, nothing in life is beyond your reach. 5. Focus on the present moment. One of the greatest struggles of the modern world is the inability to be fully present. Our minds are constantly drifting, either replaying moments from the past, wishing things had gone differently, or projecting anxieties into the future, worrying about what's to come. We are rarely fully here in this moment. The past is already gone, beyond your reach. The future is uncertain, beyond your control. The only thing that truly belongs to you is now. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, put it simply: confine yourself to the present. This is not to say that we should never reflect on the past or plan for the future, but most of our suffering comes from an unhealthy attachment to things that no longer exist or have yet to happen. When we obsess over the past, we replay regrets, mistakes, and lost opportunities, allowing them to weigh us down. But no amount of overthinking can change what has already happened. When we fixate on the future, we create stress and anxiety over things that may never even happen. The only place where we have any power, any control, or any real influence is right now. Consider how much time and energy you spend worrying about things that haven't even occurred yet. Maybe you have an important meeting coming up and your mind is already racing with worst-case scenarios. What if I mess up? What if they don't like my ideas? What if I fail? But in reality, none of these things are actually happening right now. In this moment, you are simply sitting, thinking, breathing. The meeting only exists in your mind, and the stress you feel is entirely self-created. A Stoic would tell you to return to the present task, to focus on what you can do right now to prepare, rather than getting lost in a storm of imagined fears. The same applies to the past. Maybe you had a conversation last week where you said something you regret. Maybe you feel ashamed about a mistake you made years ago. You replay it over and over, wishing you could go back and change it. But no amount of thinking can rewrite history. The only thing you can control is how you respond now. You can apologize if needed, you can learn from the mistake, and you can grow. But the more you cling to the past, the more you lose sight of what's happening in front of you. One of the biggest benefits of focusing on the present is that it reduces stress and anxiety. The mind creates problems that don't actually exist in reality. When you bring yourself back to the present, you realize that in this moment you are okay. Right now, you are not being attacked, you are not failing, you are not in danger, you are simply here. The Stoics believed that most suffering is self-inflicted, not by actual events, but by our thoughts about those events. Epictetus said, "People are not disturbed by things, but by the views they take of them." This means that it's not external situations that cause distress, but our internal reactions to them. By training the mind to stay present, we free ourselves from unnecessary worry and emotional turmoil. Practicing presence doesn't mean ignoring reality. It means fully engaging with what is happening right now. If you're eating a meal, truly taste the food instead of scrolling through your phone. If you're having a conversation, listen fully instead of thinking about what you're going to say next. If you're working on a task, give it your complete attention rather than letting your mind wander to unrelated concerns. By doing this, life becomes richer, more meaningful, and more enjoyable. A simple yet powerful way to train yourself to be more present is by engaging your senses. Whenever you find yourself lost in thought, ask, "What do I see around me? What sounds do I hear? What textures can I feel? What smells are in the air? What is happening right now in this exact moment?" This practice immediately brings you back to the now. Another effective technique is deep breathing. Whenever you feel overwhelmed, take slow, intentional breaths. Feel the air filling your lungs and exhaling slowly. The breath is always in the present. By focusing on it, you anchor yourself in the moment. The ability to stay present is especially important when dealing with stress. Let's say you're at work and your to-do list is overwhelming. Instead of allowing your mind to spiral into panic about all the things you have to do, focus on just the next task. What can you complete right now? What is the next immediate step? By breaking things down into the present moment, stress becomes manageable. Instead of thinking about everything at once, you simply focus on the one thing in front of you. Presence also improves relationships. How often do we only half listen when someone is speaking, too distracted by our own thoughts or phones? People notice when we are not truly present with them. The Stoics believed that being fully engaged with others, listening attentively, responding thoughtfully, and giving people your undivided attention was a sign of wisdom and respect. When you are present in your interactions, you strengthen your connections and build deeper, more meaningful relationships. One of the most challenging aspects of staying present is letting go of the past and future. Maybe you're holding on to resentment about something that happened long ago, or you're afraid of what the future holds. The Stoics remind us that both are illusions. The past is gone, the future has not yet arrived. All you can do is make the best choice in this moment. This doesn't mean you never reflect on the past or make plans for the future, but it means that your mind doesn't live there. You reflect, you plan, but then you return to the now. For example, imagine you're having dinner with loved ones. Your body is there, but your mind is elsewhere, thinking about a problem at work, an argument from earlier, or something you have to do tomorrow. You're physically present but mentally absent. The Stoics would encourage you to bring your attention back. Look at the faces of the people around you, listen to the conversation, enjoy the moment, because these moments are your life. When you train yourself to focus on the present, life becomes more enjoyable. You stop chasing happiness as something that exists in the future. I'll be happy when I get that promotion. I'll be happy when I reach my goal. And instead you realize that happiness is available right now, in this moment. The simple things, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the sound of laughter, the taste of good food. These are life's treasures, but you can only experience them if you're actually paying attention. One of the most common regrets people express at the end of their lives is not fully living in the moment, spending too much time worrying, too much time working, too much time chasing things that in the end didn't matter. The Stoics teach us to avoid this regret by living fully today. So how can you start practicing presence in your daily life? Catch yourself when your mind drifts. Whenever you notice you're lost in thought, gently bring your focus back to the present. Use your senses to ground yourself. Observe the sights, sounds, and sensations around you. Breathe deeply. When stressed, slow down and focus on your breath. Single task instead of multitasking. Give your full attention to what you're doing. Let go of past regrets and future anxieties. They do not exist right now. At the heart of Stoicism is the understanding that life is happening now. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, right now. Every moment you spend worrying about the past or future is a moment you lose. The Stoics remind us that to live fully, we must live presently. So ask yourself, am I truly here in this moment? Because if not now, when? 6. Embrace change. It's the only constant. Life is constantly moving, evolving, and shifting. No matter how much we might try to hold on to stability, the truth is that nothing stays the same forever. Seasons change. People grow, relationships evolve, careers take unexpected turns, and circumstances shift in ways we never anticipated. Yet most people resist change. We fear the unknown, we cling to what is familiar, and we often struggle when life takes an unexpected turn. But the Stoics understood a fundamental truth. Resisting change only creates suffering, while embracing it leads to freedom. Marcus Aurelius, a man who ruled an empire and faced countless uncertainties, wrote, "The universe is change. Our life is what our thoughts make it." In other words, change is not just something that happens to us, it is the very nature of existence. The more we try to fight against this reality, the more frustrated and fearful we become. But when we accept that change is inevitable, we shift from a mindset of resistance to one of adaptation. Instead of fearing change, we learn to flow with it, to see it as an opportunity rather than a threat. Think about the major changes that have shaped your life. Perhaps you moved to a new city, changed careers, ended a relationship, or took on a challenge that forced you out of your comfort zone. At the time, you may have felt uncertain, even afraid. But looking back, can you see how those changes led to growth, new opportunities, and deeper understanding? What once seemed like an obstacle often turns out to be the very thing that pushes us forward. Yet, when faced with new changes, we often forget this truth. We cling to the past, to what is safe, to what feels predictable. But the Stoics remind us that clinging to the past is like trying to hold on to water. It will slip through your fingers no matter how tightly you grasp it. The past is already gone, and no amount of wishing will bring it back. The future is not yet here, and trying to control it is an illusion. The only logical response to change is to accept it fully and adapt. Epictetus put it simply, it is not events that disturb people, it is their judgments concerning them. Change itself is not the problem. It is how we interpret change that determines our experience. If we see change as something negative, something to be feared, we create stress and anxiety. But if we see change as a natural and necessary part of life, we can approach it with a sense of calm and curiosity. Imagine someone who loses their job unexpectedly. The immediate reaction might be panic, fear, or even anger. But a Stoic would take a different approach. Instead of seeing the job loss as a disaster, they would ask, what opportunities does this open up for me? What can I learn from this? How can I use this moment to grow? The situation itself has not changed, only the perspective has, and that perspective is the difference between suffering and growth. This principle applies to every aspect of life. Consider relationships. Friendships evolve, people grow apart, and circumstances shift. Many people struggle with this, feeling hurt or betrayed when relationships change. But the Stoics would remind us that everything in life is temporary, including the people who come and go. Instead of mourning the loss of what was, we should appreciate what it was while it lasted and move forward with grace. Marcus Aurelius advised, "Receive without pride, let go without attachment." This means appreciating what life brings without becoming overly attached to it, whether it's success, relationships, or possessions, because everything is in a state of flux. One of the greatest barriers to embracing change is the illusion of control. We often believe that if we plan enough, prepare enough, or work hard enough, we can make life unfold exactly as we want. But no matter how much effort we put in, there will always be forces beyond our control, unexpected events, other people's choices, and circumstances we never saw coming. The Stoics teach us that control is an illusion, and that true peace comes not from trying to control life, but from controlling our response to it. A powerful way to practice this mindset is through mental rehearsal. The Stoics engaged in a practice called premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. This involved mentally preparing for change before it happened, imagining different challenges that might arise, and considering how to respond with wisdom and composure. By doing this, they trained themselves to be mentally flexible, so that when change did come, they were not caught off guard. This is not about being pessimistic, it is about being prepared. If you accept that change is inevitable, you won't be thrown off balance when it happens. Another key aspect of embracing change is learning to let go of attachment. We often suffer because we hold on to things too tightly, possessions, relationships, identities, or status. But the more we attach ourselves to things that are impermanent, the more we suffer when they inevitably change. Seneca advised, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Many of our fears about change exist only in our minds, and when we finally face the change we feared, we realize it is not as bad as we imagined. Consider someone who resists moving to a new city. They fear the unknown, worry about losing their current lifestyle, and dread starting over. But once they move, they find new opportunities, new friendships, and new experiences they never could have imagined. The change they feared turned out to be the very thing that helped them grow. The lesson here is simple. Resisting change does not stop it from happening, it only makes the transition harder. Instead of resisting change, lean into it. When something in your life shifts, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "How can I grow from this?" When you face an uncertain future, instead of fearing it, remind yourself that every great opportunity, every meaningful experience, and every major breakthrough in your life came from stepping into the unknown. To start embracing change today, practice these Stoic principles. Accept that nothing is permanent. The only constant in life is change. The sooner you accept this, the easier life becomes. Train yourself to adapt. View every change as an opportunity to learn, grow, and strengthen your resilience. Detach from what you cannot control. You don't control life's changes, but you do control your response. Practice premeditation of change. Regularly remind yourself that change is inevitable and prepare your mind for life's uncertainties. Let go of attachments. Appreciate what you have without clinging to it. When things shift, let them go with grace. At the heart of Stoicism is the understanding that life is fluid. The more we resist change, the more we suffer. But the moment we learn to embrace it, we unlock freedom, resilience, and peace. Instead of clinging to the past or fearing the future, the Stoics teach us to move with life, not against it. When we do this, we stop seeing change as something to fear and start seeing it as the natural rhythm of life itself. 7. Focus on your actions, not the opinions of others. One of the greatest sources of stress, anxiety, and self-doubt in life comes from an obsession with what other people think. We constantly seek approval, validation, and acceptance, adjusting our behavior, our goals, and sometimes even our identity to fit the expectations of others. But the Stoics saw this as a waste of time and energy, a distraction from what truly matters, your own actions, values, and character. The truth is, you cannot control what others think. No matter what you do, there will always be people who misunderstand you, judge you, or disagree with your choices. The Stoic way is to free yourself from the weight of public opinion and focus entirely on what is within your control, your decisions, your integrity, and your effort. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Other people's thoughts, words, and judgments belong to them, not you. What someone else thinks about you is none of your business, because it does not change who you are." Yet, so many people live in fear of judgment, letting the opinions of others dictate their actions. They hesitate to pursue their dreams because they worry about being criticized. They hold back their true thoughts because they fear rejection. They waste time trying to impress people who, in the grand scheme of things, have no real impact on their life. The Stoics remind us that this is a form of self-imposed slavery. If your happiness depends on external approval, you are not truly free. Think about how many decisions you have made or not made because of concern over what others might think. Maybe you wanted to start a new career, but the fear of judgment held you back. Maybe you have a passion or creative pursuit, but keep it hidden because you're worried about criticism. Maybe you stay in situations that don't serve you, relationships, jobs, social circles, because you're afraid of what people will say if you leave. The moment you allow the opinions of others to control your choices, you give away your power. The Stoics understood that a life lived for external approval is a life not truly lived. The great Stoic philosopher Epictetus put it bluntly, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." This is a powerful reminder that growth, progress, and authenticity often come at the cost of not being understood. If you are constantly seeking approval, you will never take risks. If you are afraid of standing out, you will always remain in the shadows. If you let others dictate your choices, you will never truly know what you are capable of. The Stoics believed that the only standard you should live by is your own, measured by your principles, your effort, and your integrity. Consider the example of a person who wants to pursue a creative passion, painting, writing, or starting a business. But instead of simply doing it, they hesitate. What if people don't like it? What if they criticize me? What if I fail and look foolish? The Stoic response to these doubts would be, does it align with your values? Does it bring you fulfillment? Are you taking action with integrity? If the answer's yes, then the opinions of others are irrelevant. If your goal is to do meaningful work, improve your skills, and create something valuable, why should it matter if some people don't approve? Another example is dealing with criticism. Let's say someone speaks negatively about you, spreading rumors or making judgments about your life. Your instinct may be to defend yourself, to prove them wrong, or to dwell on their words. But the Stoics would remind you that what others say is outside your control. Their opinions do not define you, your actions do. Marcus Aurelius advised, "If you are pained by external things, it is not they that disturb you, but your own judgment of them. And it is in your power to wipe out that judgment now. You are not harmed by criticism itself, you are harmed by your reaction to it." One of the best ways to stop caring about what others think is to focus on what truly matters. Ask yourself, in 5 years, will this opinion or judgment have any impact on my life? Most of the time, the answer is no. The opinions that seem so significant in the moment will fade, but the choices you make for yourself will shape your future. The Stoics encourage you to prioritize your own growth, integrity, and purpose over the fleeting opinions of others. A powerful exercise to build this mindset is to practice voluntary discomfort. The Stoics often engaged in activities that exposed them to potential judgment, like wearing simple clothing despite their status, eating basic food, or publicly engaging in behaviors that might invite criticism. The purpose of this was not to seek attention, but to train themselves to be indifferent to opinions. If you intentionally put yourself in situations where people might judge you, such as sharing your work publicly, voicing your true opinions, or stepping out of your comfort zone, you develop the strength to act without fear of judgment. Over time, you realize that people's opinions are fleeting, often baseless, and ultimately meaningless to your personal growth. Letting go of external validation does not mean ignoring feedback. The Stoics valued learning and improvement, but they were selective about whose opinions they considered. Constructive criticism from a trusted mentor or friend is valuable. Mindless judgment from random people is not. The key is to filter opinions based on their usefulness. Is the criticism coming from someone whose values align with yours? Is it helping you improve? If yes, take it into account. If not, let it go. Not every opinion deserves your attention. This principle applies especially in the age of social media, where validation has become a currency. Many people define their worth by likes, comments, and online approval. But the Stoics would remind you, external recognition is an illusion. Whether 1 million people praise you or criticize you, neither should change your inner sense of purpose. If you need approval to feel confident, you will always be at the mercy of others. True confidence comes from within, from knowing that you are acting in alignment with your values, regardless of who is watching. Imagine how liberating it would be to live without the fear of judgment, to make decisions based on what truly matters to you, not on whether others will approve. To pursue your goals boldly, without hesitation, to be at peace with who you are, rather than trying to mold yourself into what others expect. The Stoics believed that this kind of inner freedom is the key to a fulfilling life. So how do you start applying this today? Ask yourself, am I making this decision for myself or for approval? If your choices are based on pleasing others rather than fulfilling your own purpose, realign your focus. Practice voluntary discomfort. Do things that might invite judgment, such as sharing an opinion, expressing yourself authentically, or stepping outside social norms. Over time, you will build resilience to criticism. Filter the opinions you listen to. Constructive feedback is valuable, but mindless negativity is not. Learn to separate the two. Remind yourself that people's opinions are temporary. What seems important today will likely be forgotten tomorrow. Live in a way that aligns with your long-term values. Measure yourself by your own standards. Did you act with integrity? Did you put in effort? Did you stay true to your principles? If so, external approval is irrelevant. At the end of the day, the only opinion that truly matters is your own. Not in a selfish way, but in a way that ensures that your life is dictated by your principles, not the expectations of others. The Stoics remind us that your worth is not determined by what others think, but by how you live. The moment you stop chasing approval and start focusing on your own path, you reclaim your power. You become unshakable, confident, and free. 8. Build inner strength through adversity. Adversity is something most people try to avoid. It's uncomfortable, it's painful, and it often feels unfair. But the Stoics saw adversity differently. To them, hardship was not an obstacle, it was a necessary part of life, an opportunity to build resilience, develop wisdom, and forge true inner strength. Instead of fearing adversity, they embraced it as a tool for personal growth. The truth is, you don't develop strength when life is easy. You develop it when you are challenged, when things don't go your way, and when you are forced to push through discomfort. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers and leaders, wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." In other words, the very thing that seems to block your path can actually be the thing that propels you forward if you allow it. Most people see obstacles as reasons to stop. The Stoics saw them as opportunities to grow stronger, wiser, and more resilient. Think about the toughest moments in your life. Perhaps you lost a job, experienced heartbreak, faced a major failure, or endured personal loss. At the time, it may have felt like everything was falling apart. But looking back, can you see how those experiences shaped you? How they forced you to develop resilience, to learn valuable lessons, to gain a new perspective? Adversity is life's greatest teacher, if you are willing to learn from it. The problem is that most people want to avoid pain, failure, and discomfort at all costs. We seek comfort, security, and ease. But the Stoics understood that a life without challenges is a life without growth. If you never struggle, you never develop strength. Just as a muscle only grows when it is challenged, your character only strengthens when it is tested. Epictetus, who was born a slave and endured years of hardship, put it best: difficulties are things that show a person what they are. When life tests you, it reveals your true strength. Imagine two people facing the same hardship. Let's say both lose their jobs unexpectedly. The first person falls into despair, blames external circumstances, and sees themselves as a victim. The second person, applying the Stoic mindset, accepts the reality of the situation, focuses on what they can control, and uses the setback as an opportunity to grow, perhaps by learning new skills, pursuing a new career path, or developing greater resilience. The event is the same, but the response determines the outcome. This is the essence of Stoicism. You don't control what happens to you, but you always control how you respond. Adversity also builds mental toughness, the ability to remain calm, composed, and focused under pressure. In life, you will face unexpected challenges, financial struggles, health issues, professional failures, personal setbacks. You cannot predict or prevent all of them, but you can train yourself to handle them with strength. The Stoics believed that if you prepare your mind to endure hardship, nothing can truly break you. One powerful Stoic practice for building inner strength is voluntary discomfort, purposely putting yourself in uncomfortable situations to train your mind for future hardships. The great Stoic philosopher Seneca, despite his wealth, would often practice living as if he were poor, eating simple meals, wearing rough clothing, and sleeping on the floor. Why? Because by exposing himself to discomfort, he trained his mind not to fear it. He proved to himself that he could endure hardship, and that wealth and comfort were not essential for happiness. You can apply this in your own life. If you fear discomfort, start practicing it in small ways. Take cold showers, fast for a day, wake up earlier than usual, push yourself in a difficult workout. Whatever challenges you. The goal is not to suffer for no reason, but to train yourself to be comfortable with discomfort. When real adversity strikes, you will already have built the mental toughness to handle it. Another key Stoic approach is shifting your mindset from victimhood to empowerment. When bad things happen, the natural reaction is to ask, "Why me?" But the Stoics would encourage you to ask instead, "How can I use this?" Every difficulty contains within it a lesson, a chance to improve, an opportunity to grow. If you approach adversity with curiosity instead of resistance, you turn obstacles into stepping stones. Let's take another real-life example. Imagine you are an athlete training for an important competition. You suffer an injury that prevents you from competing. Many would see this as a disaster, a setback, a reason to give up. But a Stoic would look for the opportunity hidden within the challenge. Maybe this is a chance to improve another aspect of your training, your mindset, your strategy, your patience. Maybe this setback will teach you a lesson that will make you even stronger in the long run. The key is to see adversity not as something that happens to you, but as something that happens for you, to make you better. Another way to build inner strength through adversity is by practicing gratitude, even in difficult times. This may seem counterintuitive. How can you be grateful when things are going wrong? But the Stoics believed that every hardship contains something to appreciate. Maybe adversity is teaching you resilience. Maybe it's showing you who your real friends are. Maybe it's forcing you to let go of something that was never meant for you. When you shift your perspective and look for reasons to be grateful even in tough times, you develop an unshakable mindset, one that cannot be broken by external circumstances. Seneca wrote, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. Hardship polishes you, refines you, and makes you stronger, if you allow it. The moments that challenge you the most are the ones that shape you into the person you are meant to be. Every setback, every failure, every disappointment is part of your training. The strongest people are not those who avoid hardship, but those who face it head-on, learn from it, and emerge stronger." To start applying this today, practice these Stoic principles. Reframe adversity as an opportunity. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "How can this make me stronger?" Expose yourself to discomfort. Build resilience by practicing voluntary discomfort. Small challenges that strengthen your mind. Train yourself to focus on what you can control. You can't control the hardship, but you can control your response to it. Look for the lesson in every setback. Every struggle contains wisdom. Learn from it. Be grateful for challenges. They are shaping you into a stronger, wiser person. At the core of Stoicism is the belief that adversity is not something to fear, it is something to embrace. Every challenge you face is an opportunity to build resilience, mental toughness, and wisdom. You don't get stronger by avoiding struggle. You get stronger by facing it, enduring it, and learning from it. So the next time you encounter a hardship, remember this: it is not here to stop you, it is here to strengthen you. If you choose to see it that way, then nothing, no obstacle, no failure, no setback, can ever truly defeat you. Instead, it will make you unbreakable. 9. Practice gratitude, even in difficult times. Gratitude is easy when life is going well. When you have success, good health, financial stability, and supportive relationships, it's natural to feel thankful. But the true test of gratitude and the true essence of Stoic wisdom is whether you can remain grateful even when life is difficult. Can you find appreciation in moments of hardship? Can you acknowledge what you still have, even when things don't go your way? The Stoics believed that practicing gratitude, especially in difficult times, is one of the most powerful ways to build resilience, find peace, and maintain inner strength. Epictetus, who was born a slave and later became one of the greatest Stoic philosophers, wrote, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." This is the foundation of Stoic gratitude, focusing on what you have rather than what you lack. The truth is, no matter how bad things seem, there is always something to be grateful for. The problem is that most people are conditioned to focus on what's missing, what's wrong, and what they wish was different. But the Stoics remind us that gratitude is a choice, a perspective, a way of seeing the world that brings contentment and strength. When life becomes difficult, gratitude may not be your first instinct. If you're going through financial struggles, dealing with personal loss, facing failure, or feeling overwhelmed, it's easy to dwell on what's wrong. But Stoicism teaches that your experience of life is determined by your perception, not by your circumstances. You can either focus on the hardship and allow it to consume you, or you can focus on the things that remain good, the lessons being learned, and the ways in which you are growing. Imagine you lose your job. The immediate reaction might be frustration, fear, or even anger. But what if you shifted your perspective? What if, instead of seeing it as a loss, you saw it as a new opportunity? What if you were grateful for the experience you gained, the lessons you learned, and the possibility of something even better ahead? A Stoic would remind you that nothing in life is inherently good or bad, only your judgment makes it so. By choosing gratitude even in setbacks, you transform your experience of reality. One of the most powerful Stoic practices for cultivating gratitude is negative visualization, the act of imagining life without the things you currently take for granted. Seneca advised, "Set aside a certain number of days during which you shall be content with the scantiest and cheapest fare, with coarse and rough dress, saying to yourself the while, 'Is this the condition that I feared?'" The purpose of this practice is to train yourself to appreciate what you have, by imagining what it would be like without it. If you regularly remind yourself that life could always be more difficult, you naturally develop a deeper sense of gratitude for what you already possess. Consider your daily life, the air you breathe, the ability to see and hear, the food you eat, the people who care about you. How often do you truly stop to appreciate them? Most of us take these things for granted, only realizing their value when they are gone. But a Stoic makes a conscious effort to be grateful before loss occurs, recognizing that everything in life is temporary. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Do not dream of things you do not have, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess, and then thankfully remember how you would crave for them if they were not yours." This practice keeps you grounded, preventing you from constantly chasing more and instead helping you appreciate what is already within your reach. Gratitude also serves as a shield against suffering. When you are grateful, your mind is focused on abundance rather than scarcity, on what is present rather than what is missing. Even in the face of pain, gratitude reminds you that not all is lost. Let's say you're experiencing personal loss, the end of a relationship, the passing of a loved one, or a major disappointment. A Stoic would encourage you to grieve, but also to reflect on what was gained from the experience. Instead of only mourning what is gone, they would remind you to cherish the memories, the lessons, and the time you had. Seneca wrote, "What need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears." This means that loss is inevitable, but gratitude allows us to appreciate life in its fullness, both the joys and the sorrows. Another key aspect of Stoic gratitude is recognizing that everything is borrowed. Nothing truly belongs to us. Our health, our possessions, even our relationships are all temporary gifts from the universe. The more we attach to things as if they are permanent, the more we suffer when they change. But if we approach life with an attitude of gratitude and non-attachment, we learn to appreciate things while they are here, without fearing their eventual departure. For example, instead of feeling entitled to good health, be grateful for every day your body allows you to move, breathe, and function. Instead of expecting financial security, appreciate every meal you can afford, every moment of shelter and comfort. Instead of taking relationships for granted, express gratitude for the people in your life, knowing that every interaction is a gift. Nothing is guaranteed, so appreciate what you have while it lasts. Practicing gratitude also strengthens mental resilience. When you focus on what is good, even in difficult situations, you build the habit of seeing opportunities instead of obstacles. Imagine two people facing the same challenge. One dwells on everything that went wrong, while the other focuses on the lessons learned and the unexpected benefits that arose from the difficulty. Who will be stronger in the long run? The person who chooses gratitude. So how can you start cultivating Stoic gratitude in your daily life? Practice negative visualization. Spend a few moments imagining life without the things you currently take for granted. This will deepen your appreciation for them. Keep a gratitude journal. Each day write down 3 things you are grateful for, even during tough times. Reframe hardships as opportunities. Instead of focusing on what's wrong, ask, what can I learn from this? How can this challenge make me stronger? Express gratitude for people, not just things. Tell the people in your life that you appreciate them. Small gestures of gratitude strengthen relationships. Detach from expectations. Recognize that nothing is owed to you. Everything you have is a gift, and this mindset fosters deep appreciation. At its core, gratitude is a discipline. It is not just about feeling thankful when life is easy. It is about training your mind to find something to appreciate, no matter the circumstances. The Stoics remind us that even in hardship we have choices. We can focus on what is missing, or we can focus on what remains. We can dwell on our struggles, or we can acknowledge our strengths. We can resist life's ups and downs, or we can embrace them with an attitude of gratitude. So the next time you face difficulty, pause and ask yourself, what is still good? What can I be thankful for? This small shift in perspective can change everything. Gratitude does not erase pain, but it transforms how you experience it. It turns struggle into growth, loss into appreciation, and hardship into wisdom. And in doing so, it gives you a strength that cannot be shaken. 10. Control your reactions, not the events. Life is unpredictable. No matter how much we plan, prepare, or hope for things to go a certain way, reality often unfolds differently. People disappoint us, unexpected problems arise, and situations spiral beyond our control. In moments like these, frustration, anger, or despair can feel like the natural response. But the Stoics remind us of a fundamental truth. You do not control external events. You only control your response to them. This principle is the foundation of inner peace, emotional resilience, and true strength. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, put it simply, we cannot choose our external circumstances, but we can always choose how we respond to them. This means that, while you may not be able to control the behavior of others, the outcome of a situation, or the challenges life throws at you, you have complete authority over your own thoughts, emotions, and actions. The moment you internalize this truth, you reclaim your power. The difference between reaction and response. Most people go through life reacting to situations rather than responding to them. A reaction is automatic. It is driven by impulse, emotion, and habit. Someone insults you and you lash out. A plan falls apart and you panic. You receive criticism and you become defensive. In each of these cases, you have allowed external circumstances to dictate your inner state. You have given control of your emotions to something outside of you. A response, on the other hand, is deliberate. It is the result of self-awareness, reflection, and choice. Instead of lashing out when insulted, you remain calm and composed. Instead of panicking when things go wrong, you adapt and find solutions. Instead of becoming defensive over criticism, you assess whether it holds value and either apply it or dismiss it. This is what it means to master yourself. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, practiced this mindset daily. In his personal reflections, he reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." He understood that the world would never be fully under his control, but his own mind, thoughts and emotions could be. Real-life example, facing unexpected challenges. Imagine you are driving to an important meeting when suddenly you hit traffic. It becomes clear that you are going to be late. The reactionary response would be to curse, honk your horn, feel your blood pressure rise, and let frustration consume you. But a Stoic would ask, does getting angry change the traffic? The answer, of course, is no. The event is beyond your control, but what is within your control is your response. You can choose to take a deep breath, accept the situation, and use the extra time to listen to an audio book or reflect on your presentation. The outcome remains the same. You arrive late. But one response leaves you stressed and miserable, while the other leaves you calm and composed. This principle applies to all areas of life. You cannot control if someone criticizes you, but you can control how much weight you give their words. You cannot control if an investment fails, but you can control how you adapt and move forward. You cannot control if a relationship ends, but you can control how you process the pain and grow from it. By shifting your focus from controlling events to controlling your reactions, you liberate yourself from unnecessary suffering. Reframing challenges as opportunities. One of the most powerful Stoic practices is reframing adversity as an opportunity for growth. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "How can this make me stronger?" Every hardship, setback, or unexpected event contains within it a lesson, if you are willing to see it. Seneca, a prominent Stoic thinker, believed that obstacles are not something to resent, but something to embrace. He wrote, "A setback has often cleared the way for greater prosperity. Many things have fallen only to rise to more exalted heights." This perspective shifts your relationship with difficulty. Instead of seeing challenges as interruptions to your happiness, you begin to see them as essential to your development. For example, if you lose your job, you might initially react with fear and anxiety, but a Stoic would encourage you to step back and reframe the situation. Is this an opportunity to explore a new career path, to develop a skill I've been neglecting, to reassess my priorities and create a life more aligned with my values? The situation itself does not change, but your interpretation of it does, and that interpretation determines whether you suffer or grow. Mastering emotional control. One of the hardest things to control is your emotions, especially in the heat of the moment. Anger, frustration, sadness, and fear are natural human responses. But the Stoics believed that just because an emotion arises does not mean it must control you. Marcus Aurelius advised, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." This means that you have a choice. You can feel the emotion, acknowledge it, and then decide what to do with it. Imagine someone disrespects you in public. The instinctive reaction might be to argue, escalate the situation, or let it ruin your day. But what if instead you paused and asked, "Does this person's opinion define me? Is their behavior worth my peace of mind?" By choosing detachment instead of engagement, you refuse to let another person dictate your emotions. One of the most useful Stoic techniques for mastering emotions is the pause. Before reacting, take a breath, step back, and consider your response. Ask yourself, is this in my control? Will this matter in a week, a month, or a year? What is the best way to handle this situation while maintaining my inner peace? This small moment of reflection can prevent you from acting impulsively and allow you to respond with wisdom rather than emotion. Accepting reality instead of fighting it. At the heart of this principle is radical acceptance, the ability to acknowledge reality as it is rather than as you wish it to be. Much of human suffering comes not from external events, but from our resistance to them. Imagine a storm hits while you're on vacation, ruining your plans. You can spend the day frustrated, complaining about how unfair it is, or you can accept it and adapt. Maybe you use the time to read, relax, or explore something new indoors. The storm does not change, but your acceptance of it determines your experience. Epictetus encouraged people to view life as a theatre performance. Sometimes things go according to script, and sometimes they don't. He said, "Don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish that they happen as they do happen, and you will go on well." This is the key to peace, aligning yourself with reality instead of resisting it. How to apply this principle daily. Pause before reacting. Whenever something upsets you, take a breath and ask, "Is this worth my peace?" Reframe setbacks as lessons. Instead of seeing obstacles as problems, ask how they can serve your growth. Detach from external events. Remind yourself that you cannot control circumstances, only your response to them. Practice emotional control. Observe emotions without letting them dictate your actions. Accept reality as it is. Instead of resisting what you cannot change, flow with it and adapt. At the core of Stoicism is the understanding that peace comes not from controlling the world, but from controlling yourself. The person who masters their reactions is unshakable, calm in the face of adversity, and free from the emotional turmoil that consumes so many. So the next time life throws something unexpected at you, remember, you don't have to react. You get to choose how you respond. And in that choice lies your true power. 11. Practice patience. Good things take time. We live in a world that glorifies speed. Everything is about instant gratification, fast results, quick rewards, and immediate success. Social media, fast food, next-day delivery, and real-time updates have conditioned us to expect everything now. But the Stoics understood a truth that modern society often forgets. Anything truly valuable in life, whether it's mastery, wisdom, character, or deep relationships, takes time. Patience is not just about waiting. It is about trusting the process, embracing the journey, and recognizing that some things cannot be rushed. Marcus Aurelius reflected on this when he wrote, "The art of living is more like wrestling than dancing. It requires you to stand firm and be ready for the unexpected. Just as a strong body is not built in a day, neither is a strong mind or a fulfilling life. Everything worthwhile requires patience." Why patience is essential for growth. In any field, whether it's business, sports, art, or philosophy, those who achieve greatness are not the ones who demand immediate success. They are the ones who dedicate years, even decades, to refining their craft, learning from failure, and making steady progress. Consider a tree. When you plant a seed, you do not dig it up every day to check if it has grown. You water it, provide it with sunlight, and trust that over time it will take root and flourish. The same principle applies to personal growth, skill development, and success. Seneca wrote, "No great thing is created suddenly, any more than a bunch of grapes or a fig. If you tell me that you desire a fig, I answer that there must be time. Let it first blossom, then bear fruit, then ripen." He reminds us that growth follows a natural process, and impatience only leads to frustration. If you expect immediate results, you set yourself up for disappointment. But if you commit to the journey, you will see the rewards unfold over time. The consequences of impatience. Impatience leads to poor decision-making, unnecessary stress, and dissatisfaction. When people rush, they often compromise on quality, take shortcuts, and make impulsive choices that backfire in the long run. For example, many people expect overnight success in their careers. They start a new job, a business, or a creative pursuit and grow frustrated when they don't see immediate results. But what they fail to realize is that true success is built over time through consistent effort and perseverance. Those who quit too soon never reach their full potential. Similarly, impatience can ruin relationships. Real connections take time to develop. Trust is built through small, consistent actions over months and years. If you expect instant trust, instant understanding, or instant commitment, you will always be disappointed. But if you are patient, allowing relationships to grow naturally, they will become much stronger. Reframing patience as strength. Many people view patience as passivity, as if waiting means doing nothing. But Stoic patience is active. It is not about sitting back and hoping for things to happen. It is about putting in the work, staying committed, and trusting the process. Epictetus said, "No great thing is suddenly created." He understood that patience is not about waiting idly, it is about enduring, persevering, and continuing the journey without rushing. For example, if you want to build physical strength, you don't lift weights for a week and expect dramatic results. You train consistently, endure discomfort, and trust that over time you will become stronger. The same applies to mental resilience. If you want to cultivate patience, you must practice delayed gratification, self-control, and endurance in difficult situations. Practical ways to develop patience. Focus on the process, not just the outcome. Instead of obsessing over results, commit to the daily effort. Ask yourself, what can I do today that moves me forward? Reframe challenges as tests of endurance. When things don't go your way, remind yourself that adversity is an opportunity to practice patience and resilience. Use self-realization. Avoid babbiliousness. Intention is more powerful than luck. Detach from the need for immediate results. The more you let go of urgency, the more you free yourself from stress and frustration. Train your mind through small acts of patience. Wait an extra few seconds before speaking. Stand in line without looking at your phone, or choose to listen instead of interrupting in conversations. Trust that good things take time. Remind yourself that the most meaningful achievements, whether in career, health, relationships, or personal growth, cannot be rushed. Final thoughts. The power of patience. At its core, patience is a form of wisdom and self-mastery. It is the ability to endure discomfort, delay gratification, and trust the process. The Stoics remind us that life unfolds at its own pace, and the more we resist this reality, the more we suffer. So, the next time you feel impatient, whether in your work, your personal life, or your journey of self-improvement, take a deep breath and remind yourself, everything worth having takes time. If you stay the course, keep showing up and trust the process, the rewards will come. And when they do, you will realize that the wait was always part of the journey. 12. Stay humble and avoid ego traps. Ego is a silent enemy. It whispers that you are more important than others, that you have nothing left to learn, and that your success is entirely your own doing. It feeds on praise, resists criticism, and blinds you to your own weaknesses. If left unchecked, ego leads to arrogance, complacency, and ultimately downfall. This is why the Stoics, despite their achievements and status, constantly reminded themselves to stay humble, remain teachable, and avoid the many traps of the ego. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man of his time as the Emperor of Rome, regularly wrote in his private journal, "Do not be wise in your own eyes. Keep yourself simple, good, pure, serious, unpretentious, a friend of justice, God-fearing, kind, affectionate, and strong for your proper work." Despite his immense power, he actively worked to keep his ego in check, recognizing that pride and arrogance would only cloud his judgment and weaken his character. He understood that the moment a person starts believing they are above others, they lose touch with reality. Ego is dangerous because it creates an illusion of superiority. It makes you believe you are always right, that you don't need to listen to others, and that your past achievements guarantee future success. But the Stoics knew that true wisdom comes from realizing how little you actually know. Socrates, considered one of the wisest men in history, famously said, "The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing." When you believe you have all the answers, you stop growing. But when you remain humble, curious, and open to learning, you continue to evolve. Why ego is a trap. Ego prevents growth. If you believe you already know everything, you will never seek improvement. If you think you are better than others, you will stop listening and learning. If you assume you are immune to failure, you will make reckless decisions. Ego blinds you to reality. Consider someone who experiences early success in their career. They achieve a few victories, receive recognition, and suddenly believe they are invincible. They stop listening to feedback, they ignore warning signs, and they assume their success is entirely their own doing. But then, when challenges arise, they are unprepared. Their arrogance prevents them from adapting, and they fall harder than they ever expected. This is why the Stoics warned against allowing success to inflate your ego. Success is never permanent, and neither is failure. Another danger of ego is that it makes you resistant to criticism. Most people view criticism as an attack, but the Stoics saw it as an opportunity for self-improvement. Seneca wrote, "A gift consists not in what is done or given, but in the intention of the giver." This means that even if criticism is delivered harshly, there may still be truth in it. The wise person listens, reflects, and takes what is useful. The arrogant person dismisses it, assuming they are beyond reproach. How to cultivate humility. One of the best ways to keep your ego in check is to remind yourself of your insignificance in the grand scheme of things. Marcus Aurelius frequently reflected on the vastness of the universe, writing, "Alexander the Great and his mule driver both died, and the same thing happened to both." No matter how powerful, wealthy, or successful you become, in the end you are still human. You will make mistakes, you will face struggles, and one day you will be forgotten like everyone else. This is not meant to discourage, it is meant to liberate. When you recognize your smallness in the universe, you stop taking yourself too seriously. You let go of arrogance and embrace the reality that you are always a work in progress. Another way to maintain humility is to practice gratitude for everything that has contributed to your success. The Stoics understood that no one achieves greatness alone. Your talents, opportunities, and circumstances are shaped by many factors: teachers, mentors, luck, timing, and the contributions of others. Instead of saying, "I did this all by myself," shift to, "I am grateful for everyone and everything that has helped me along the way." This mindset prevents entitlement and fosters appreciation. Humility also requires the ability to admit when you are wrong. Many people see admitting mistakes as a sign of weakness, but the Stoics saw it as a mark of strength. It takes courage to acknowledge your flaws, and even greater wisdom to correct them. If you make a mistake, own it, learn from it, move forward with greater clarity, avoiding the illusions of status and recognition. Many people chase status, fame, and external validation, believing that recognition will bring them fulfillment. But the Stoics warned against seeking approval from others. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own." In other words, why do we care so much about what others think when their opinions do not define us? Chasing recognition is an ego trap, because external approval is never enough. You may receive praise today, but tomorrow people will move on. If your self-worth is dependent on public recognition, you will always be at the mercy of others. A Stoic finds fulfillment in their own actions, character, and effort, not in how they are perceived. One way to detach from the illusion of status is to focus on the work itself, not the rewards. Instead of asking, "How will this make me look?" ask, "Is this the right thing to do?" Instead of seeking validation, seek excellence. Do your best, not for applause, but because it aligns with your values. Practicing humility in everyday life. Adopt a beginner's mindset. No matter how much you know, approach every situation as if there is still something to learn. Seek feedback and listen to criticism. Instead of becoming defensive, ask, "What can I learn from this?" Remind yourself of your mortality. No matter how successful you become, you are still human, just like everyone else. Give credit to others. Acknowledge the people who have helped you along the way. Detach from praise. Do not seek validation. Do good work for its own sake, not for applause. At the heart of Stoicism is the understanding that true strength comes from humility, not arrogance. The moment you believe you are above learning, above failure, or above others, you have already lost your way. Stay humble, remain open, and keep growing, because the wisest people are those who know they still have much to learn. Stoicism is not just a philosophy, it is a way of life, a guide for navigating the unpredictability of existence with resilience, wisdom, and grace. It is not about suppressing emotions, becoming indifferent or detaching from the world. Rather, it is about mastering oneself, learning to control what is within your power, accepting what is not, and approaching life with a mindset that transforms obstacles into opportunities. If there is one fundamental truth the Stoics understood, it is this: your life is shaped not by what happens to you, but by how you respond. Every challenge, every setback, and every unexpected turn is an opportunity to strengthen your mind, refine your character, and become the person you are capable of being. Whether it is learning to focus only on what you can control, developing the patience to trust the process, or detaching from the opinions of others, the principles of Stoicism provide a timeless framework for living with clarity, confidence, and resilience. These 12 lessons are not abstract ideas meant to be pondered in theory. They are tools for daily life. When you find yourself overwhelmed by circumstances beyond your control, remind yourself, you do not control events, but you control your reaction. When you experience failure, remind yourself it is not a loss but a lesson, a stepping stone toward wisdom. When you feel frustrated by slow progress, remind yourself good things take time and mastery is built through persistence. The beauty of Stoicism is that it requires no special conditions, no ideal circumstances, no waiting for the right moment to begin. It can be practiced in the chaos of a busy life, in the stillness of reflection, in the face of hardship, and in the pursuit of excellence. Whether you are a student, an entrepreneur, an artist, an athlete, or simply someone seeking to navigate life with more composure and strength, these principles apply to everyone, everywhere. Stoicism does not promise an easy life. It does not offer shortcuts, quick fixes, or an escape from discomfort. Instead, it offers something far greater: the ability to meet life head-on, to endure difficulties with dignity, to remain calm in the face of uncertainty, and to cultivate a mind that is unshaken by external events. It teaches you that true power is not in controlling the world, but in mastering yourself. So, as you move forward, ask yourself, how can I apply these principles today? Which of these lessons will help you navigate a challenge you are facing? Which mindset shift will allow you to approach life with greater peace and purpose? True Stoicism is not about reading and agreeing with these ideas. It is about living them. And that is the real challenge. Will you just admire these principles from a distance, or will you integrate them into the fabric of your daily life? Will you choose to be reactive, Or will you cultivate the discipline to pause, reflect, and respond with wisdom? Will you allow fear and ego to dictate your decisions, or will you practice humility and resilience? The choice is always yours. At the end of the day, the goal is not perfection but progress. The Stoics never claimed to be flawless, they simply committed to continuous improvement, day by day, decision by decision. And if you do the same, if you practice discipline, embrace challenges, and apply these lessons with consistency, you will find that over time you become stronger, calmer, and more in control of your own destiny. This is the power of Stoicism. This is the path to true mastery.